Hi guys, James at RampantLionReviews again for you today with another beer review. For this one we are going to return to Aberdeen, where I used to study chemistry, of course, and of course there's a kind of thriving beer scene up there, and we're going to visit the latest addition to that. So for this one we're going to go to Dyce and have a look at Fierce Beer Company for the very first time, and we're having a taste of their Peanut Riot tonight, which is a 6.5% porter beer. Supposed to be very nice, 85 overall on rate beer and 78 within the style, so it should be pretty damn good. And really the only reason I picked this one as opposed to the other ones was the fact that I like monkeys, and there's a monkey on the label. I liked the name of it, and I heard all other beers are good, so I thought why not go with this one. But there's a lot of hype surrounding this brewery. A lot of people have said they're very good, so I'm really interested to try this one and see how we get on. I've got very high hopes for this beer. But anyway, as is usual with my beer reviews then, I'll tell you a little bit about the brewery. If you do want to get straight to the tasting, just fast forward. All the usual links are in the description below. That's the brewery website, the link to my future reviews that I'll do from Fierce Beer. There's all the usual social media. Make sure you check that out. If you want to see more beer reviews, do subscribe to the channel. If you're interested in beer from a particular area, state or whatever, go into the channel homepage and you can search by geography. The whole channel is based on that, and please do get in touch and let me know some of the other beers and breweries that you guys would like to have me look at. It's always nice to hear from you guys that are watching the channel, and thank you of course for your continued support. So anyway, to tell you a little bit about Fierce Beer Company. So Fierce Beer, as I mentioned to you, are based in Dyce in Aberdeen, just to the northwest of the city, and they began life as the home brewing experiments of David Grant, who'd actually worked for many years in the oil industry. He'd been home brewing since March 2013 according to the website, and he'd actually hosted a beer and food pairing dinner in May 2015, and his beers received rave reviews. So this was when he actually decided to go professional and found Fierce Beer Company officially. So David is joined at the brewery by Dave McGarry, who also worked in the oil industry for quite a long time, but he used his redundancy package to put himself on a brewing course at Brewlab in Sunderland. And these guys actually down there have produced a lot of craft brewers both in Scotland and throughout England and Wales and everything like that. It's actually quite a famous brewing school in craft beer circles these days. But this year in April 2016 they moved into their new brewery at Kirkhill Industrial Estate in Dyce, just to the northwest of the city. And what's actually interesting for me about this brewery is the fact that they only started in April. It's now August, but their beers have spread really quickly. It usually takes breweries a little bit of time to actually spread all throughout Scotland. There's some of the beers from some of the breweries in the north of Scotland that I can't even get down here in the south, which is quite interesting. But Fierce Beer have grown it pretty damn quickly actually, and you can get their beers in England, so I'm guessing they will start exporting them fairly soon. So we'll see how they get on. Like I said at the start of the video, this brewery have actually got very good reviews, so I'm really interested to try this and see how we get on. And they do have strong links with Cask Bar, a nice sort of whiskey, cigar and beer bar in Aberdeen, very close to the port actually, so it's worth going and checking that out as well if you find yourself there. My favourite bar of course in Aberdeen is at the Moorings Bar, or now Krakatoa as it's known. But yeah, always cool to see new additions to the Aberdeen craft beer scene, and I've heard a lot of people saying that these beers are pretty damn awesome. So let's see how we get on with this one. So to tell you the specs of this beer, this guy is a 6.5% porter. It uses an American ale yeast, and it's hopped with Nugget, Columbus, Galaxy and Summit, and it's got a malt base of American two-row and English pale malts. The little blurb on the side of this one says, Peanut Riot is seriously good. One sip and you'll be immediately transported to the confectionery counter. Flavours of chocolate, dark roasted peanuts and a little salt will satisfy chocoholics, peanut fans and beer drinkers alike. Beertopia, just maybe. So yeah, should be quite interesting. It says there's vanilla in this one as well, so really interested to see how that comes out. I love vanilla when it's put into beers, so yeah, it should be quite nice. I'll just let you have a quick look at the artwork on this one before we open it up. You can see there, it's got this kind of it almost reminds me of Ska Brewing Company actually a little bit. But there is a brewery in Australia, and if I remember right, they're called Moondog, and they've got kind of similar artwork to this one. The same idea where they put the newspaper cuttings and then put some graphic designs around them. I really like that kind of style of artwork there. There you can see the Fierce symbol, the hop cone there with the kind of almost sort of horror eyes on it. You can see that's on the bottle cap as well, but very nicely presented. Like I say, it's 6.5% porter, and we'll see how we get on with this one. Yeah, very much looking forward to this beer. So, a nice smoky opening on this one, and we'll get it out and into the glass. But this beer, I'm hoping that it will remind me a little bit of some of these imperial stouts that you get from Omnipollo in Sweden. that taste like cakes, you know. For example, the Yellow Belly and the Agamemnon. I really love these beers where they put vanilla and peanuts and things like that in the beer. It usually works out very well. But those are big stouts. This one is a porter. But you can see this beer, as you would expect, is poured a really kind of nice, dark, ebony rosewood colour. There was about a half finger of a frothy, beigey tan head on this one, but that's faded away to be a very thin, foamy layer. But I'm sure it will return when we sugar the beer up a bit. There's a few big bubbles sticking to the side of the glass, but mainly it's very small bubbles of carbonation going up towards the bottom of where that head was. So let's have a little look at the aroma of this one before we get stuck into it. So we'll sugar it up a little bit and then we'll let it settle. Oh, that's quite interesting actually. I've never really smelt a porter with quite that combination of things going on. It does smell like toasted nuts. In Denmark you get these kind of roasted, I'm not quite sure if they're chestnuts, but in Copenhagen you often see these roasted nut stands, and the smell of this beer really reminds me of that one. You can definitely get some earthy hops in here as well. That really is sticking out on this one. You can smell that just kind of underpinning the whole beer. Maybe a little bit of grassiness too actually. But yeah, it really smells very earthy. A little bit of the grassiness in there as well. Maybe a wee bit of kind of herbally character coming out from the hops as well. But on top of that you've definitely got these toasted nut characters in there. You can smell a bit of the chocolate as well. But it definitely is the nuts that are dominating the aroma here. I'm not getting much of the vanilla out of this one actually. The other flavours are masking that one quite a bit. But yeah, it does smell very earthy, almost herbal actually. But yeah, it does smell really interesting. I've never come across a porter that quite smells like this one. So if you get the chance to try this beer, take a little bit of time and enjoy the aroma of it, because it is quite unique in my experience of 800 or so beers. I don't think I've ever come across one that is quite like this. So yeah, enjoy it. There's a bit of chocolate in there, maybe some kind of roasted brown sugars as well, but really for me it's the toasted nuts and then that sort of earthy kind of herbal hop character that's dominating this one. And it really reminds me of some of these roasted nut vans that you get in Copenhagen in Denmark. Yeah, I'm really glad I got to try this beer while I'm home for a little while from Sweden. So yeah, let's get stuck into this beer then. So this is the Peanut Riot, my first go at one of Fierce Beer Company from Aberdeen's beers. Slàinte. Oh yeah, no. Let's just say straight up, that's a very, very solid beer. There's no doubt about that. Yeah, that's nice. I mean, the mouthfeel of this one is really quite nice. The difference between the porter and the stout, obviously, is the porter I always feel is a bit lighter in the mouthfeel than the stout. The stout always just has that bit more of a body to it, but this one is very kind of silky in the mouthfeel, and it really suits the flavour combination that they've got going on in this one. And it's actually really sweet. So it's one of the kind of more sweet porters that I've come across in all these beer reviews that I've done, but this is very, very good. Yeah. This one, what's interesting about this beer as well, I always tend to treat porters and stouts as kind of taster beers, as dessert beers, but this one is actually light enough to be a sessionable beer. It really does have that kind of mouthfeel about it. I don't know, I've never heard of anyone that really does session porters. A lot of people like them as tasters, but this one you could actually session, to be honest. But it's really nice. The middle of your palate, it almost has a kind of very light, almost black malt base to it. You can just feel that going right across the middle of your palate. On top of that, you can feel some of the chocolatey character just building there. It's quite oily, and it really does suit the beer. There's probably a little bit of brown sugar in there. You can feel the malt side of things just drying out as the flavour progresses in this beer, and that's when the peanut flavours start to push through. There's a little bit of toasted character right in the middle of the tongue, and that's these kind of toasted peanutty flavours coming out in this one. There is maybe a wee bit of vanilla in there as well. That starts to come out more in the aftertaste as well, and you also really get, when that dryness from the nuts starts to come out, you can really feel a little bit of a very slight kind of toasted caramel in there, but it really is the nuts, as you'd expect from the name, of course. It really is the nuts that start to push their way out. But for me, this beer really starts kind of sweet and chocolatey, and then it starts to move into the kind of peanut, the sort of toasted, nutty flavours that are in this. But yeah, that's really nice actually. The mouthfeel of this is quite good. They've got it. They've kind of got it spot on for the flavours that they want to come out in this beer. But yeah, that's really nice. The hops in this beer are nicely done as well. They're very, very smooth. Sometimes when it comes to porter beers, they you know, they can be very aggressive on the hop side of things with that earthiness to kind of complement. Usually that's when you have a big, dry, ashy kind of character in the malt base to this one. But in this beer, they're more smooth and well-rounded. So the earthiness has just a little bit of dryness in the back corners of the palate. Then you start to come further forward, and it's very, very smooth. There's almost just a little tiny bit of smooth grassy character around the front curve of the tongue too, but that's quite minimal. Really the hoppy side of things is earthy, which is exactly what you'd expect. It's maybe, yeah, I think it's fair to say the front curve of the tongue for me is a very, very kind of mild, light sort of grassy flavour. And it's got a bit of herbal character to it as well, like I was picking up in the aroma. That earthiness, as it starts to come forward, just gets a little bit more kind of herbal or sort of vegetal as well. You can really pick that up in the flavour of this beer. But if you just go behind the front curve of the palate, just pay attention to that little oily bubble that always comes out and gives you the fruity esters as well. There's a little bit of an almost red kind of candied fruit ester in there. It's a little bit figgy, but it always reminds me of these kind of these little heart sweets in the Haribo Star Mix. I say that in so many reviews when it comes to dark beers, but you can pick that up in this beer as well. But yeah, the fruity character in this one actually has a bit of sharpness to it, and then it just smooths out into this more kind of Haribo flavour. It does have just that little bit of sharp character about it, but overall, this is a really nice beer. I'm glad I got to try this one, and I think I made a pretty solid choice for my first one from Fierce Beer. I would definitely drink this again. There's no doubt about that. I can't say if it's their best beer or if it's one of the really kind of standout ones from the range, but for me, this is a really, really solid porter. Certainly wouldn't hesitate to drink it again. It probably could do well as a dessert beer, but the thing, as I said about this beer, is that it is, in terms of the mouthfeel, it is actually really quite nice and sessionable too. So the thing that strikes me about this beer in the mouthfeel is just how smooth it is. It's definitely mid-bodied. It's got a good oily character to it as well. There's a little bit of dryness from the hops. The malt base has a little bit of dryness to it in the aftertaste, but overall, I would say it's quite sweet from the malty character. There is a little bit of vanilla kind of creeps into it as well later on, but there's a tiny bit of dryness from the malt base too, but the hops are very smooth as well. I mean, the oily mouthfeel that it has really suits it, and the flavours all come out quite well. So the main point of this review is that this is a very, very solid beer, and I'm glad that we've got another brewery from Aberdeen, or they're the only brewery in Aberdeen actually. I always think about Brewdog when it comes to Aberdeen, but these guys have produced a very, very solid beer, and I'm really glad that we've got to see another brewery from the Aberdeen area doing really well. So hopefully I can review some of their beers soon, but I would say to you, if you enjoy porters and you enjoy these kind of almost cakey flavoured imperial stouts and sweeter porters, and milk stouts of course as well, I think this is a beer that you are going to quite enjoy. So yeah, if you get the chance to try it, make sure you check out the Peanut Riot from Fierce Beer Company in Aberdeen. So yeah, really cool. Very pleased with this first review that I've done from these guys. So yeah, thank you for watching my beer reviews. Until the next time, please like, subscribe, share, all the usual YouTube stuff. Check out all my social media in the description below, but most importantly, let me know your own thoughts on this beer and the brewery in the comment section below. I'm sure I'm going to return to these guys in the fairly near future. I've heard that their fruit beer is the best one that they do, so I need to have a look at that, and I'll try one of their pale ales as well, or one of their IPAs. It's always good to judge a brewery on the dark side of things and also on the light side of things as well, so we'll see how we get on with that, and I'm sure we will return to Fierce Beer in the very near future. But make sure you check out the Peanut Riot if you enjoy the beers that I listed earlier. Thanks again for watching, and I will catch you soon. Slange just now, guys.